Live from a studio apartment, this is Misinformation. Can't tell because I've got the backdrop going on tonight. This is actually a studio apartment. A very small one as well. You couldn't tell by my suit. My seersucker suit. My backdrop. This is an actual real backdrop too. Found this for free in the lobby a couple years ago. Seersucker suit. Tate's rubbing off on me a little bit. Picking up some of that style. Well, let's see what we got. Ooh, let me see if I can put this stuff up. Are we streaming? We live? Let's make sure we're good. Okay, first of all, can I put it on? This setup's kind of funny. I have like 2 monitors and then I mirror to my TV with certain stuff. But it's not working right now, so. Oh, you bastard. Well, that's fine. We can look at it here.
I will sue the out of you.
Need sound through headphones. Oh my gosh. There we go. It's so late right now. All right, let's start. We'll do some jokes real quick, and then we'll get into the news and stuff. Got a cool show tonight. I mean, some big news. Andrew Tate's been arrested again, so we're gonna get into that a little bit. Probably an unpopular opinion about it. We'll see. It's kind of it tonight. We're gonna be talking about that. Mamdani trying to arrest the Benjamin Netanyahu, the Jewish leader. Let's go into the jokes. Boop, boop, boop. Well, Andrew Tate has been arrested again. Yeah, he's being accused of rape and human trafficking by accusers from several years ago. Yeah, apparently E. Jean Carroll says he raped her in a Macy's back in 1996. Yeah. Him and Trump. It's crazy how she remembered that, but... Well, New York Mayor Mamdani says that he will attempt to arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if he ever comes to New York. Yeah. That is, unless Netanyahu sneaks into New York illegally, in which case he'll be given a hotel. Yeah. Would be the first immigrant ever arrested in Mamdani's New York. Crazy. Okay, let's jump into it. So, I kind of, all of the theme of tonight's show is sort of dating. We talk about politics, we talk about dating. And by we, I mean me. In the chat. We talk about MMA here. So, before we get into the Andrew Tate stuff, a couple of dating stories. Oh, let me pull up Twitter. This here. Okay. So this is the first one we'll cover. Of course, the World Cup just happened. This is the guy who was on the winning team, not Messi. That's the extent of my knowledge of world soccer. This is not Messi, I know that. This is the guys that won Spain, and there was a story going around online. Lamine Yamal's girlfriend leaving her previous boyfriend of 5 years to date. Lamine Yamal is resurfacing online. This world is brutal, he says. There's a picture of her, I guess, with like her previous boyfriend. And here is her making the highly immoral choice to go with the millionaire soccer star. I mean, what do you expect her to do? So, the thing is, women, so for men, their primary source of income, upward mobility, upward social mobility, their ability to be successful in life, for a man, their primary source of that is their job, right? So, and men will, you know, if you have a job and it's not as, the job's never as good as you want it to be, right? You're always looking for a better job. When you get a good offer, what are you going to do as a man? You're going to take it, right? The thing to understand is for women, their main source of social upward mobility in life is men. Okay? Women treat men like it's their job. So what happened here is just very simply, she had a job, was a good job, but then she got another offer that came along. And it was an offer she just couldn't turn down. So even though she liked her previous job, she had to go with a new job. And guys are shocked about this. There was another story online. This is Max Holloway. If you haven't heard of him, he's a UFC fighter. And here's his response here. Here's the initial clip. So I guess he went on some podcast, and that's his wife right there. She's a cutie. She was talking about how they met, and I guess the story is that he was like following her on Instagram and stuff and trying to slide into her DMs for 5 years. And she ignored him, right? While she was supposedly dating some other guy, right? And so everyone online was calling this guy a simp and saying, and crapping on her, basically saying, you know, oh, she only left because part of the story is apparently she only came around to Max Holloway and entertained the idea of dating him when she found out through a friend, oh, he's actually a big UFC fighter. He's actually somebody. And then she flipped the script and went for it. I'll let you listen to the clip first if you haven't heard it.
Like, you know, but yeah, so I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I need to find a gym. He works at Tactical. Darren Yap, he's awesome. He's a hard ass though. Yeah. But he sent me that direction. He's like, hey, like we should hang out. And I already knew where this was going. I was like, damn, I think I fell for the trap. Whoa. Like, I think he was doing this for 5 years now. Like, he would come to my birthdays.
Persistent.
Oh, he would tell you, what's the saying, love?
Huh?
Consistency. No, he's like, I'm just... Consistency. And he's like, he says, I'm planting the seed.
You can ask one of my friends, Micah Nakagawa, Brandon Martin, our friends that know each other. But I'd always be like, oh, write to her on top of one of her stories, you know what I mean? And she leave me on red. I was like, bro, she left me on red. She let me see song. He was
very persistent.
Not even read them. Would have given me no hope. Like, man.
I respected Max though. I know he was a great athlete from what I've heard. Again, I never watched UFC, nothing. Yeah. I didn't know he was a big deal till I got home, and then he's like, everybody's like, yeah, Max, how's it going? Can I get a picture? Blah, blah. I'm like, oh, shoot. I didn't say anything to him. I was like, oh, this guy must be, a big deal. So I had one of my friends be like, they were like, oh, you're hanging with Max? Do you not know he's like a big deal here? And I was like, oh, really? He's like, he's about to fight too. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, all right, I'll do my research. I was like, oh, dang, I didn't know. Yeah. But I didn't see that. Like, I just...
So, you see how plainly she's just explaining this? It's a shock to me that guys online are disheartened by this or believe this is somehow immoral or something, right? Like, again, as we just discussed, women view men as like their job, all right? These guys online who are complaining about this and crapping on this girl, it's like, what do they think that she is going to do as a beautiful woman? Who, by the way, has the rougher end of the bargain, who is only judged primarily as a woman, at least at first, on her looks and her age, right? As a man, it's actually a way better deal. You get to be judged on your actual merit, what you've actually accomplished. You know, the fact that she's coming around and going, oh, I didn't really entertain the idea of dating this guy until I realized he was a big deal. Like, that's great. I would much rather be in that situation as a guy where my actual actions affect my attractiveness to other people. That sounds awesome. Meanwhile, there are like these incels online believing that women should, like this, like just beautiful, gorgeous women, should come have sex with them and give away all of their genetic potential to probably a broke dude with Cheeto fingers, Cheeto dusted fingers, based on his personality, I guess, is the idea. So here's the thing. Women do not give a fuck about your personality as a man. Like, they like it a little bit. Like, if you're, it's always funny when women say like, oh, they want like a guy with a sense of humor, right? As a guy with a really good sense of humor, let me tell you something. Women don't give a fuck about a guy with a sense of humor. What they mean is like, they want a successful, dark, mysterious, kind of dangerous guy who might kill them, but every once in a while will make a kind of sideways witty comment that lets them know that he's still a decent guy and has some social awareness. That's all that they mean, right? They don't care about your personality. And the sooner you sort of accept this as a man, like, the easier life becomes. I actually love it. But as a man, you are only worth your usefulness to other people. Okay? You are only judged on what you can provide to other people, and rightly so. I wouldn't have it any other way, right? So it's just funny to me. Max comes out, he feels the need to defend this, and he's talking about, here's the context, she was engaged. He has some quip that, I was an ass for reaching out, but I lived by some code of honor where if you couldn't defend your girlfriend's honor, you didn't have a boyfriend, you had a girlfriend. You know, he says that stuff. She has her own money. He mentions like she was a professional surfer, I guess, so she had a ton of money. It wasn't the money. To me, now, whether she came for him because of the money or the success, it's sort of the same thing. People get money because they are a big deal, because they're successful. It doesn't have to be a UFC fighter, but if you're the biggest deal at your company, you're probably getting a lot of money. You're getting a lot of money because you're being useful to other people in a big way. If you can be useful to people in a big way, you will be successful, you will be a big deal, and you will likely have a lot of money as well, right? That is what women look for. They want a guy who has those types of success indicators, because if they have sex with you and they get pregnant, that's 20 years of their life that they got to rely on whatever you are to provide their entire future for them. They want a really good job if they're going to settle for that, right? And then that brings us to Andrew Tate, which is sort of related, slightly related. So Andrew Tate was arrested again. Here's a video of him being arrested. Everyone's punking him. It is kind of funny. So, side note, people were pointing out online, I guess. Let me see if I can find it here. So he gets arrested. First of all, people are making fun of him because he's in the, it is funny. He has like a very like European style. That does frankly look slightly gay. But hey, I'm in the seersucker. If you're a guy with some style, you're going to look a little gay. Because the gays, that's what they do. They're stylish, right? But he's in the shoes. He's in the tight-fitting purple shirt. Anyways, as he's getting arrested, I think this was in Florida, he tries to hand his phone over to his bodyguard. You can sort of see it right here. He's getting arrested. He tries to, right there. touch his bodyguard with his phone. The bodyguard sort of ignores it. And so the phone, he just drops it onto the ground right there. And then some other dude, presumably from his entourage, picks up the phone. And the whole thing with this is supposedly the last time that this is not the first time he's been arrested. He was arrested before in Romania a couple years back. They ended up releasing him. Now apparently the UK has charges against him. I don't have all of the charges. I don't know specifically what they are. My understanding is it's mostly allegations of sex trafficking, rape, I believe, and there might be some type of minor involved, which my understanding is maybe at some point there was some girl who was 17, something like that. I don't know, But here's a video of him. Here's another funny tweet about it, by the way. Let me find it. Oh, this was the funny tweet. It's about his outfit. Somebody says, Andrew and Tristan Tate whenever it's time to get arrested. Which is true. They're just always in like the dandiest outfits. Okay, so what do we think about Andrew Tate getting arrested? Let me consult the chat first. We think he's going to prison? To me, I'm skeptical of whatever is going on with him right now. Which is why I had the opening joke about E. Jean Carroll, because to me this looks like the same thing that they did to Trump, basically. It's kind of a pretty common playbook that we see now. Whenever there's a man in power who's very successful but is also a threat to the status quo, a threat to those in power, kind of the easiest way to take him out appears to be to find a woman that he may or may not have had a sexual relationship in the past, who is none too happy about it, or none too happy about him retroactively, and to somehow trump up that into a rape charge from like 5-10 years ago. So my understanding is, when you look at Andrew Tate, really the only reason that he's getting charged with anything is because he spoke out against COVID protocols. He spoke out against the status quo. He encouraged young men to be aggressive, to take action, and to fight. And these charges stem from 2022, right? But they're about things that happened before that, right? Which apparently there were victims, they're saying. These victims never spoke out at the time. They never accused him of rape at the time that these events happened. A little bit of backstory on Andrew Tate. So if you're not aware, he made a lot of his money running a cam business, right? Which is girls go online. They do OnlyFans, basically. So he was basically almost like an online pimp, where he had a bunch of girls that he would meet. He would have sex with them. They would sort of be his girlfriend, I guess. This is my understanding of it. He was accused of using the lover boy method at one point, which is where you make people fall in love with you. I don't know how that's illegal, but okay. So he made these women fall in love with him. And at some point he would pitch them, hey, I can make you a lot of money if you work for my cam business. And he provides all of the video editing, the studio, and does all the distribution, I guess, and then they get a certain percentage of the profits. He's done this, as I understand it, with apparently hundreds of women, right? Who, largely, a lot of them, still live with him in his house, have had kids with him. They've benefited largely from this cam business, themselves making tons of money a lot of the time, right? But the thing is, with any business, if you have 100 employees or 100 people that you're working with, what do you think happens if later on down the line, this guy gets rich and famous, and then you go back and you question all 100 of his previous employees? Do you think you'll find probably 3 or 4 of them out of the entire bunch who are not so happy with the way things ended? Probably, right? So that is what it looks like to me is, if you want to take down a man in power, if he's got a sexual past, any kind of a sexual history, it's the easiest way to do it. You find people from the past, apparently becoming rich and famous gives you the power to retroactively rape people. Yeah. It wasn't rape at the time. Nobody reported it, but a couple of years after the fact, once you got rich and famous, then it turned into rape, and everyone suddenly feels the moral need to come forward. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen all of the charges. I don't know all of the stories. So maybe there is something real that I'm totally unaware of. That could be the case. I could see new information, new charges come out. But to me, it just looks like a setup. I mean, the fact that there were no charges against him until 2 years after he started speaking out against COVID and becoming the most famous person on the internet, kind of tells you everything. It's the same thing that they did with Trump and Jean Carroll, I mean, she didn't even remember what really happened. She doesn't even seem to be in her right mind. And somehow they actually, in that case, they changed the statute of limitations in New York, I believe it was, because it would have been well outside of the statute of limitations to even come out and file a lawsuit against Trump. So they actually changed that specifically for that case. If that's not a setup, I don't know what is. And that looks exactly the same as this to me. Then you have Lauren Southern, who is a famous conservative kind of influencer. She had this whole trad wife image going on, which is where I guess they sort of portend to be women of traditional values. So it's very important for her to appear pious, right, as part of her whole online gimmick, right? And she'd had some past controversies, which I don't even remember what they were, that revealed her to not be so trad, apparently. I think she got pregnant or knocked up or something happened. I don't remember. And nothing against her. But in any case, I guess she told this story not too long ago where apparently she is one of Tate's accusers. I don't know if she's specifically in these charges that are brought against him. I think she might be, though. But her whole story, as I understand it, is, and this gives you an example of the types of charges that are being brought against him. She claims that while she was a conservative influencer, she got pitched a business meeting with Tate. She knows who Tate is, right? She knows he's that guy who's going to show up and try to bang you, right? She's aware of that, presumably. She knows he's a bad boy, all that stuff. Meets up with him. I think she flies to maybe Romania or wherever he was. And they meet up for drinks, she says. Her version of events, she goes to the bar. I think this is paraphrasing her words, basically. She goes to the bar, has 2 drinks, and says, somehow I got totally blackout drunk. Okay? I don't think she accused him of roofing her, but she says, oh, I got blackout drunk. Somehow. Right? Although, apparently not fully blackout drunk, because she remembers key details of the events that she's able to recount, which is she says that I guess he invited her then to his hotel room. She consented and went to his hotel room with him. And then I guess one thing led to another. And at some point, this is where she claims he was on top of her or something. And I don't know if she says she resisted or not, but basically at some point she says, listen, I know what you're going to do, so just do it, or something. He has sex with her. The next day, she, isn't happy about the whole thing, goes out, gets a rape kit, doesn't mention it for years, apparently, doesn't file any charges or do anything about it, but now is coming out with her story. And there was a whole controversy because Tim Pool, who I guess she's friends with Tim Pool, was saying online on his show that he didn't believe her. Or that's at least what she says he said. And so she called him out online. I don't have the tweet here, but I guess she was supposed to go on his show. She was hoping to confront him. He wasn't at his show that night. He was at the World Series of Poker. So it looked like to her he might have been avoiding her. And so she comes online and says, are you do you still think I'm lying about this? You know, you ghosted me on your show, blah, blah, blah. And Tim comes out and says, I wasn't at the show because I was at this poker tournament. We literally went and had dinner after the show that night, and he didn't say anything to me there, right? So I had a tweet about that where I was like, oh, it's almost as if her version of events excludes important details that misconstrue the nature of your relationship. Which is, I mean, if I'm being honest, and obviously, like, I don't know exactly what happened. I can't say with 100% certainty. It's just an opinion. But I don't believe that story. I mean, I believe the story. I believe what happened is probably, sounds to me like you got drunk. Well, okay, backing up. It sounds like you went to meet this bad boy because you probably wanted to hook up with him on some level. You know, you knew what the whole deal was. You put yourself in a position where you, like, went to a bar with him, probably got drunk on purpose to allow yourself to hook up with him, then went to his hotel, and then one thing led to another, and you regretted it afterwards. This is a very common thing that happens with girls. You know? They will literally bend their brain in knots, not only to lie about stuff like this, but to convince themselves of the lie so that they can live in a reality where they're not a whore, where they're not unpious. I don't know what the word is, but basically to convince themselves that whatever happened that they regret, it wasn't their fault. They have no accountability. Someone else did this thing to them and should be blamed for it, right? So yeah, I think she probably just regretted it afterwards. You know, she has this whole trad image that she's trying to uphold. And by the way, this was the photo that she posted after the news dropped that he was arrested. She said, "Good guys always win," and it's her drinking a glass of champagne. This is the last this is the last face you see at the bar before she accuses you of rape, by the way. And, you know, I know the thing is, it's when things like this happen, there's certainly, you know, I don't know if I have to say this or not, but real rape is very bad. It's really not a good thing. So the problem with all these stories and the accusers from 10 years ago who come out of the woodwork only when a guy gets famous, and yeah, they consented to be part of his cam business and they made a lot of money off of it, but after the fact they think actually they didn't consent to it and now they want more money, and also this, it's just like, it denigrates the validity of real women who've had really brutal, terrible encounters, you know, in their lives, which are terrible things. So, but I don't buy it. Here's Tate on sort of how the deep state comes for you and how they handle it if you have a sexual background or if you're morally clean.
You're too clean, they can't get you, and then you really die. So the reason I feel so sorry for what happened to Charlie is I know how these people work. And I know they sat around a table, just like they did with me. With me, they sat around the table like, he's in Romania, corrupt. Here, he's fucked lots of women, he talks on the internet, he didn't pay this bit of tax back in 2011, whatever, fucking get him. With Charlie, they're like, taxes are paid. Never had a speeding ticket. Married his wife. Never called the cop. It's clean as a fucking whistle. What can the DOJ get this guy for? Nothing. Then you gotta kill him. So for Charlie, they skipped stage 2. For me, my silver lining is I've lived an interesting enough life for them to attempt stage 2. But that doesn't mean I've ever broken the law. Doesn't mean I've ever done anything wrong. Doesn't mean what happened to me was fair. None of this should have fucking happened to me, ever. And now that girl A, who began it all, is about to be deposed, the messages are back. Coincidentally, she wants to settle. The number for the sponsorship contract was $50 million across 3 years. And I've just been offered $50 million if I drop my case, if I don't mention it ever again, and I shut up. But then I don't get my day in the sun, Jack.
So yeah, that's him talking about basically he believes that the deep state is coming for him through this legal process because he has a sexual past. You know, he's a playboy. It's like what he's known for. Whereas he brings up what happens if you don't have a sexual past that they can easily get you for. What happens if you're Charlie Kirk, right? They just take you out because it's actually easier for them to just kill you than to find some dirty secrets from your past to take you down. That's his opinion. I actually don't think that Charlie Kirk was a deep state thing, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, girls will distort the truth. I say this in kind of a funny way, but they say believe all women. That was like the whole thing of like the Me Too movement, right? It's actually the opposite of that. You should believe no women ever. Lying, they lie like people breathe. It's like baked into their operating system. Like they have to literally, I kind of get it too. Like when you, again, back to the whole thing. As a man, if you want to climb the social ladder, you can go out, you can get a new job, you could build something, you could be great, you could be of use to others. As a woman, your entire life is just basically like managing, you're almost like a PR person for yourself. You're just like managing your public image the entire time. And one of the most important things to manage is like how, I mean, honestly, like whether or not people view you as being a slut, because that just is how one of the easiest ways that society can try to talk shit about you as a woman and lower your standing on the social rungs, right? So they're really concerned about not being perceived in that way, right? It's not about who you actually are as a woman. It's about what people perceive you to be. That's why I think lying is kind of easy to them. And why they'll twist their brain in knots to convince themselves of their own lies, to absolve themselves of any accountability. I actually hooked up with a girl one time, and it was like a one-night stand type of thing. And like things got hot and heavy. I don't want to go into too many details, but at some point, like I was like seducing her or whatever, kissing her neck, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, she got so hot and bothered. She was like, okay, fine, let's do it. She literally dragged me into the bedroom, right? To do the thing. Anyways, the next day we were having coffee, and the whole thing, it wasn't great. I guess she had a fiance, which she didn't mention to me until like afterwards. So I guess she was doing this whole thing. It was a very much like we'd met the same day type of a deal, right? Anyways, the next night we're at coffee. We were just having a coffee. I actually liked her. And I was trying to get her to hang out with me. We were talking and stuff. Never did, by the way. But we were talking, and she was mentioning the night before. And she said something along the lines of, she was like, oh, I wouldn't have done anything except I knew that you wouldn't let me leave. And like she sort of said it offhand, but it made me stop. Like I put down the coffee and I was like, wait. Like you literally dragged me into the bedroom. The door was wide open. Like you could have left at any time. I don't know what you're talking about. And like I said, we were sort of jokingly, and she laughed and she acknowledged, she was like, yeah, you're right. Like you got me. But that's the type of shit I'm trying to explain. Like women will do that stuff where it's like in her mind, she literally wanted to absolve herself of any accountability for cheating on her fiance or whatever she did by basically convincing herself that I had somehow like, oh, she just knew that it was going down. And it sort of sounds the same as the Lauren Southern thing, right? Like, I know what you're going to do, so just do it. But really, you kind of want it to happen. And that's why you put yourself in the whole situation, you know. And the whole drinking thing, the whole like, oh, well, she was drunk and you shouldn't have done this or that. You know, when somebody gets drunk, if a woman gets drunk and she gets into a car, she's drinking and driving, and she hits and kills a family, right? We don't then look at that and go, oh, well, she was drunk. She couldn't really consent to driving. Like, we should just let her go, right? No, you say, yeah, you made a bad decision. You got drunk. You put yourself in that position, and you need to take accountability for it. That's why you're going to jail, right? But if a woman gets drunk or has a couple drinks at a bar and decides to hook up with some guy, all of a sudden it's like, even if the guy also is drinking, you can turn around and be like, oh, she couldn't consent to any of that. She was drinking. It's like, why would you look at one and not the other? A lot of those cases to me are just like two people getting drunk at a bar. A lot of girls like to get drunk before they hook up with guys, especially before the first time. They just do. Like, they go to bars, they have a couple drinks, takes the edge off, and they put themselves in that position on purpose. I actually don't even remember, like, it's pretty rare if I do go on a date with a girl where she's not at least having a couple drinks if she's intending to hook up with me. It's pretty common. So, yeah, I just don't buy it. Anyways, that was the long rant for tonight. It's getting kind of late here. It's around like 11:30 my time, so I might wrap it up soon. What else we got here? I mean, this is Ben Shapiro on Andrew Tate. He says the Tate's arrest is an excellent reminder. All the pseudo right-wing grifters who defended these scumbags are destructive to conservatism. Movements require border control. I disagree. Nope. You don't need to, if someone's resonating with people, just let it be. I mean, I know the thing that will divide the right on this is they're very, like, conservative values. Nobody's saying Andrew Tate is a moral paragon, right? I don't know if that's the right word, but no one's saying he's like the moral example you should follow, right? But I think it's a much different stretch to say, well, he should be arrested and thrown in jail for the rest of his life because he ran a cam business and some of his ex-employees aren't happy about it. We'll see what the allegations are, but if I had to bet, they'll all sound exactly like Gene Carroll's thing. It's kind of like Diddy, right? What did Diddy even do? Did Diddy even do anything wrong at the end of the day? I know there's a video of him being abusive to that girl, Cassie, I guess was his girlfriend that the whole case was about. And so, yeah, you got that. But they alleged that he was running a sex trafficking ring and he was running all of this stuff. And it's like the jury didn't even find him guilty of that stuff. They found him guilty of some, like, lesser charge. If you see the videos, there was this video circulating of, I think it was Cassie and Diddy. It looks fully consensual. But again, it's that instance of, like, ex-girlfriend, somebody in the past, not happy with the money you're willing to settle a case for, files complaints. All of a sudden, other women from the past come forward. Oh, rich guy already got a complaint. Let me join that class action. And all of a sudden, you got federal charges, right? Apparently, Tate tried to reach out to Trump's inner circle to get some help. Word on the street. This is, I think, a CNN reporter here. She says, as of now, President Trump is not expected to get involved in the extradition case of Andrew and Tristan Tate. Multiple sources tell me. One source said allies of the Tate brothers have been reaching out to people in his circle. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if Trump knows really who Andrew Tate is. He's never mentioned him. This is the tricky thing, is for conservatives, they're kind of split on him because a lot of them don't like him for running the cam business. I don't think it's particularly the greatest thing in the world either. Right? This was the other news from today. Still kind of a slow news day. This was Mayor Mamdani, saying that he was going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he ever comes to New York.
He comes in September.
Look, I believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu belongs in The Hague. He's a war criminal who has been charged by the International Criminal Court. And what you will find is that is an opinion that is held by many purely because of what his actions have wrought over these last many years. I've also said that I will follow the laws that we have here in New York City. because
I hate this guy so much, by the way. Look how smarmy he looks when he's like, he does this thing where he's like always smiling when he's saying something really like ridiculous or annoying. I mean, he's talking about arresting Benjamin Netanyahu, but he's got this little Weasley smile the whole time.
I believe that there's an importance in following the law as a leader who presides over our city, and that's something that I plan to do.
Meaning? I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means.
Meaning that whatever the law allows me to do in New York City, that's what we will do, but we won't be writing our own laws to that.
Meaning, yeah.
What does the...
He's not going to do shit, by the way. He can't arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. Only Trump can abduct a world leader in their sweatpants. This fool. He's just all talk. And he's a commie. But he comes at you smiling like that, you know? That's what I hate about him. All right, I'll probably wrap it up. I'm just tired. Enough rant for tonight. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow. Probably streaming Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Join me live.